It all unraveled on a Thursday evening, right around 8 p.m. Elena walked into the kitchen with her arms crossed tight across her chest. She had that specific look on her face, the one that signaled her daughter, Chloe, wanted something she knew I'd refuse. "David," she started. "Chloe's friends are heading to a lake party this weekend. It's only a 2-hour drive. She's going to crash with them overnight." I didn't even look up from the counter where I was tightening a loose cabinet hinge. "Chloe is 17, Elena. It's a school weekend. I don't know those kids, and I am not signing off on an overnight trip out of town." She let out a sharp, mocking laugh. "You always have to control everything, don't you? She's not a little girl anymore." "I'm not controlling," I said, keeping my voice even. "I'm parenting." And that's when she said it. Flat, cold, and surgical. "You'll never be her real dad, stop pretending." The room went dead silent. I didn't say a word. I didn't even flinch. I just kept staring at the open cabinet door. It was strange how one sentence could make 10 years of effort feel like a total waste of time. For a split second, the kitchen felt like it was shrinking, closing in on me. Elena stood there, waiting for the fight to start. When she realized she wasn't going to get one, she turned and stormed off. I listened to her footsteps fade down the hallway. I stood there for another minute, set the screwdriver down, and walked out to the back porch. I remember thinking that something inside me had just shut off. Not broken, just done. That was the exact moment our marriage ended. She just didn't know it yet. The next morning, I heard voices drifting from the kitchen. It was Elena, Chloe, and a voice I recognized immediately. Sylvia, Elena's mother. I froze halfway down the hall when I heard the laughter. It wasn't happy laughter. It had that nasty conspiratorial edge people use when they're trashing someone behind their back. "She's finally standing up to him," Sylvia said, her voice muffled but clear enough. Elena scoffed. "Oh, please. He acts like he's the only adult in the house." Then Chloe chimed in. "He's not even my dad. He just pays for stuff and thinks that buys him power." I stood there paralyzed. The words weren't shocking after the night before, but hearing them said so casually, mixed with laughter, that hit differently. "He'll get over it," Elena said dismissively. "He always does. He loves playing the martyr." That was it. I turned around, went back to the bedroom, and sat on the edge of the bed. 10 years in this house. 10 years of trying to teach Chloe right from wrong, of saving every dime, of fixing things. I thought I was building a family. Sitting there, I realized I was the only one who believed that. There was no shouting, no dramatic exit. Just a quiet, cold clarity. By the time I stood up, my brain had switched from emotion to logistics. I was going to call Sarah, the lawyer who handled my prenup. I was going to call Lisa, the realtor who helped me buy this townhouse years before I ever met Elena. I was going to secure my bank accounts and make sure everything was clean and legal. I wasn't going to give them a fight. I wasn't going to argue about who was real family and who wasn't. I was going to give them exactly what they wanted. Life without me. I called in sick to work, told my foreman to run the crew, and stayed home. I went upstairs, pulled 2 suitcases from the closet, and packed the essentials: clothes, toiletries, and a few old photos of my parents. I left everything else: the furniture, the gifts. It all felt like evidence of a life that wasn't mine anymore. By noon, I was on the phone with Sarah. "Sarah," I said, "I need to move fast. I want the house listed for sale." She paused. "The one you bought prior to the marriage?" "Correct." "Then sell it. It's your asset. I'll handle the paperwork." Next, I called Lisa. "I need to sell the townhouse," I told her. "Immediately." Lisa hesitated. "You and Elena splitting?" "Yeah," I said. "It's time." Then I handled the money. I rerouted my paycheck to a private account. I left the joint account open with just enough cash to cover 1 month of bills, utilities, groceries, and her car insurance. After that, they were on their own. When I was done, I walked into the kitchen, grabbed a notepad, and wrote a single sentence in block letters. You're right. I'm not her dad, and you aren't my family. I folded it, placed it dead center on the counter, and took one last look around. The house was spotless, quiet, almost peaceful. I grabbed my bags, locked the door, and drove to my buddy Mike's place across town. He took one look at my face and didn't ask a single question. He just pointed to the spare room and said, "Stay as long as you need." For the first time in a decade, I didn't feel trapped. I felt free. The for sale sign went up the next morning. 10 minutes later, my phone blew up. Elena. I let it go to voicemail. Then the texts started pouring in. First confusion, then pure fury. What is this, David? Are you trying to scare me? You can't sell our house. The word our almost made me laugh. When she called again, I finally picked up. My voice was steady as a rock. It's not our house, Elena, it's mine. Check the prenup. You can't just throw us out? She snapped. Chloe lives here. Her school is here. I left enough money in the account for this month's bills, I said. After that, you'll need to figure it out yourself. Silence on the other end, followed by a sharp inhale. You're heartless. No, I said quietly. I'm just finished. That afternoon, Sarah forwarded me an email from Elena's new lawyer demanding I stop the sale and pay for emotional distress. Sarah's reply was brutal efficiency. Just a copy of the prenup and the deed, showing I bought the property 5 years before the marriage. She ended the email with, "Any further harassment will be considered frivolous litigation." By evening, the desperation set in. Sylvia left a voicemail accusing me of abandoning my family. I deleted it halfway through. Then came a text from Chloe. No, hello, just demands. You still owe me for my car insurance and my phone bill, and you said you'd help with college. I stared at the screen. I replied, "Talk to your mother. I'm not your father." She fired back with insults, but I didn't read them. I blocked her number. Then I blocked Elena's. That night, sitting on Mike's porch, I realized something. The storm I had feared for years, the yelling, the guilt trips, it had already passed. All that was left was silence, and I liked it. 3 days later, Lisa called me. "Just a heads up," she said. "Your wife tried to contact one of my clients. She's saying some pretty wild things about you." I rubbed my temples. Like what? That you're unstable. That you're having a breakdown and can't manage your business. Thanks for the warning, I sighed. I knew exactly what she was trying to do. That afternoon, one of my biggest clients, a real estate developer, called me. "David, can you come in tomorrow? I'd rather hear from you directly." When I walked into her office, she had a file on her desk. "Your wife left a voicemail on my assistant's line," she said, looking concerned. I nodded. "I can explain." And I did. Briefly, clearly, and without drama. I explained I was going through a divorce and that my personal life would not impact the job. I showed her the site reports, the invoices, the schedules. Every number added up perfectly. She flipped through the papers and looked up. "I've worked with you for 5 years, David. You've never missed a deadline. Deliver the work. The rest is just noise." Walking out of there, I felt a massive weight lift. Elena's plan had backfired. Instead of ruining me, she just reminded people why they trusted me. Meanwhile, the townhouse got an offer over the asking price. I signed the paperwork. Elena and Chloe had 45 days to vacate. A week later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. "David, my name is Carlos. I'm Chloe's dad." I almost hung up. "What do you want, Carlos?" "Elena called me. Said you threw them out on the street and took everything. I just wanted to hear your side. We met the next morning at a diner near the highway. Carlos looked tired, a man who had taken too many wrong turns in life. I told him the whole story, the argument, the laughter, the entitlement. When I finished, he leaned back and exhaled. Sounds like Elena, he said. She did the same thing to me. Look, I messed up plenty in my life, but she's an expert at painting people as villains. I'll talk to Chloe. She needs to hear the truth. He called back a few days later. Didn't go well, he admitted. She called me a loser and said you were worse. Elena has that girl convinced the world owes her a living. The house closed a month later. I heard through the grapevine that Elena was struggling. She moved into a cramped two-bedroom apartment on the edge of town. Her savings were drying up, credit card debt was piling high, and she had to pick up shifts at a salon to make ends meet. Part of me expected to feel satisfied. Instead, I just felt distant, like I was watching a movie about someone else. I had spent 10 years fixing, providing, and holding it all together. She had spent 10 years assuming I'd never leave. Now she was trying to keep her world from collapsing, and I was finally free of the debris. About 3 months after the sale, I got another call. A guy named Mark. David, you don't know me, but I'm seeing Elena. I got your number from an old subcontractor of yours. I knew exactly where this was going. Go ahead. Did she ever borrow money and not pay it back? Or say she'd fix something but never did? Yes, I said. Repeatedly. She keeps saying it's temporary, Mark said, sounding exhausted. I've paid her rent twice, fixed her car. Yesterday, I found a credit card opened in my name that I didn't authorize. You're not crazy, Mark, I told him. Just careful. Document everything, close your accounts, and get out before you lose any more. 2 weeks later, I heard Mark had pressed charges for credit card fraud. That same week, a text popped up from an unknown number. It was Chloe. Long, shaky paragraphs. No anger this time. I saw what Mom did to Mark. I see it now. I thought you were the problem, but you were just trying to help. You were good to me, and I didn't treat you right. I'm sorry. I read it twice. I replied, I appreciate that, Chloe. I hope you learn from it. Take care of yourself. No more, no less. I closed my phone and went back to work. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Sarah handled everything. I didn't even have to step foot in court. The prenup held firm. Elena got her share of the joint savings, enough for a small restart. But she fought for more. The judge sided with the documents. It was simple math. What we built together was split. What was mine before remained mine. I used the sale money to buy a small house by a quiet lake outside the city. 2 bedrooms, a big workshop in the back, and enough peace and quiet for a lifetime. My days fell into a rhythm. Fishing in the mornings, running my business remotely in the afternoons, and woodworking in the evenings. People ask if I miss them. I don't. What I miss is the idea of the family I thought I had. But the reality? I'm better off without it. One evening, I ran into Elena at the grocery store. She was 3 lanes over, looking worn out and dressed in plain clothes. For a second, our eyes locked. She looked like she wanted to say something. I just gave her a polite nod and turned my cart away. No anger, no bitterness, just nothing. Later that night, I sat in my workshop, thinking about that last night in the old kitchen. The loose hinge, the silence, the moment the switch flipped. You'll never be her real dad. Stop pretending. She was right about that. I wasn't her real dad, but I was the only one who showed up. The only one who built something real. Now I build for myself. Quietly, honestly. It had been 2 years since I bought the lake house. 2 years of quiet mornings, sawdust, and the kind of sleep that doesn't require a heavy sigh before your head hits the pillow. I had built a new routine. My contracting business was thriving. Word of mouth travels fast when you do good work, and don't bring drama to the job site. I had a small crew now, 3 solid guys who showed up on time. I spent less time managing crises and more time crafting custom furniture in my workshop. I hadn't heard a whisper from Elena or Chloe in over 18 months. The silence wasn't empty. It was heavy with peace. Until a Tuesday in October. I was out at the mailbox at the end of my gravel driveway. Amidst the bills and flyers, there was a plain white envelope. No return address, just my name, handwritten in blue ink. I recognized the loop of the D. It was Chloe. I stood there for a moment, debating whether to toss it in the trash. Old habits of self-preservation kicked in, but curiosity won out. I tore it open. Inside, there wasn't a long, tear-stained letter. There was a cashier's check for $250 and a small yellow sticky note. Payment 1 of 12. For the car insurance and phone bills I walked out on. I'm working at a vet clinic now. I'll send this every month until we're square. Chloe. I stared at the check. It wasn't about the money. I didn't need the $250. It was the principle. For the first time, the girl who used to scream that the world owed her everything was actually paying her debts. I didn't cash it immediately. I pinned it to the corkboard in my workshop. A reminder that people can change, even if it takes a hard crash to wake them up. A few months later, I ran into Lisa, the realtor who sold my old townhouse. We bumped into each other at the hardware store in the city. David, she smiled, genuinely happy to see me. You look lighter. I feel lighter. I laughed. How's business? Crazy as always. She hesitated, glancing around the aisle to make sure we were alone. I saw her, you know. Elena. I didn't flinch. Oh? She came into my office last week. She was looking for a rental. She's not doing great, David. She looked 10 years older. Lisa lowered her voice. She asked about you. Asked if I knew where you went. I told her I couldn't disclose client information. Good, I said. She told me she made a mistake. Lisa added softly. She said the guy she dated after you, Mark, he pressed charges. She has a record now. She can't get a decent job. She wanted to know if you'd talk to her. I looked at a row of hammers hanging on the rack. I picked one up, feeling the weight of the steel and the grip of the wood. Solid. Real. No, I said. I won't. Lisa nodded, relieved. I figured. I just thought you should know. She's still playing the victim, David. She told me it was everyone else's fault she couldn't pay rent. The landlords, the bosses, the exes. It's never her. Some people love the rain because it gives them an excuse to get wet, I said, putting the hammer back. I'm just glad I'm out of the storm. I drove home that evening thinking about Elena, not with anger, but with a strange sort of pity. She was stuck in a loop of her own making, constantly looking for a savior so she wouldn't have to save herself. I had broken the cycle by leaving. She was still running on the hamster wheel. When I got home, there was an unfamiliar car in my driveway, a beat-up Honda Civic. My muscles tensed. I parked my truck and walked up the drive, ready for a confrontation. But it wasn't Elena. It was Chloe. She was leaning against the hood, wearing scrubs. She looked tired, but her eyes were clear. She stood up straighter when she saw me. I didn't know if you'd be home, she said. Her voice was different, less shrill, humbled. I'm here, I said, staying a few feet back. How did you find the address? Public records, she shrugged. And I asked Grandma Sylvia before she got sick. She kept your old holiday cards. What do you want, Chloe? I asked. I wasn't being mean, just direct. I don't want money, she said quickly, putting her hands up. I sent the check, right? You got it? I got it. Okay, good. She looked out at the lake, shimmering in the twilight. I just, I wanted to say it to your face. The text wasn't enough. She turned back to me. Mom is, Mom is a mess, David. She's spiraling. And for a long time, I thought that was just how life was. You scream, you manipulate, you take. But then I saw how you left. You just packed your bags and handled your business. You didn't scream back. She kicked at the gravel. I'm taking night classes, nursing. It's hard. I'm tired all the time, but it's my money paying for it. And I wanted you to know that. I looked at this young woman, standing in my driveway. She wasn't the bratty teenager anymore. She was a survivor, climbing out of the wreckage her mother created. I'm proud of you, Chloe, I said. Her eyes welled up, just a little. She blinked it away. Thanks. That means something. She reached into her car and pulled out a small box. I found this in Mom's storage unit. She was going to throw it out. I thought you should have it. She handed it to me. It was an old wooden frame I had made years ago, with a picture of my parents inside. I thought I had packed it, but I must have missed it in the rush. Thanks, I said, my throat feeling tight. I better go, she said. Shift starts early. Chloe, I called out as she opened her car door. She looked back. You keep sending those checks, but once you graduate, consider the debt paid. She smiled, a real, genuine smile. Deal. Bye, David. I watched her drive away until the taillights disappeared around the bend. I walked down to my dock and sat on the bench I'd built last summer. The sun was setting, painting the water in shades of purple and gold. I had spent a decade trying to be a father to a girl who didn't want one, and a husband to a woman who didn't respect one. I used to think those 10 years were wasted time, but sitting there, holding the picture of my parents, I realized they weren't wasted. They were the fire that forged the man I was today. I had my peace. I had my dignity. And somewhere out there, one person, Chloe, was finally building a life of her own because I had been strong enough to walk away from hers. I took a deep breath of the cool lake air. It tasted like freedom, and this time, it was permanent.